Erland Brügger, I think we have to start the interview with a secret, the big secret of Rivella. As with the Appenzeller cheese or the Ricola, Rivella is very proud that it still has a recipe, which is still the same from the start, that very few people actually know how Rivella is done. You as the CEO, do you know the secret?
Shall I show you quickly? No, it's a joke. It's a joke. No, it's really secret. It's also secret to me.
You don't know it?
I don't know it. And it wouldn't help if I knew, because I wouldn't do anything with it. At the end of the day, I'm not a foods processor or something like that. I'm a manager of this company, and I'm happy to have people who are able to do something with this recipe, namely to produce nicely very refreshing Rivella.
So how many people are we talking about? Is it a handful? Is it 10, 15? Or
talk about 5 to 7 people reporting to the family. When it comes to the recipe, it's about the family then.
It is a family business, and it is the family Bart owning the business in its entirety. So it's really in that regard, it's quite a traditional, quite a unique company.
Yeah, right? Probably what is different to let's say a family-led company. It's not a family-led company because the family is in the shares, yes, and they are on the board of directors.
They're on the board as well.
They're on the board, and let's say on a strategic level, they talk with us, and they also bring their visions about the brand for the future. But operationally, the whole management team is engaged, but without any shares, unfortunately, and we do our job.
Does that mean operationally you're completely independent, or is it different? You were in different companies before, so you see the difference. I mean, is it very much even if they don't, if they're not in the daily business, they are still the owners of the company. So do you feel that on an operational level as well?
Yeah, I think wherever you are, there are things that are fixed in a company, and there are things where you are free and you can do not whatever you want, but always taking care that the business drives well and grows in the right direction. But what I would say in a company like here, where you have a family that is there, you can at least ask questions, and their opinion has a certain weight in what you really do at the end of the day. Still, I would say the family is very open and very interested in what's going on and what's the next generation of Rivella. How can we conquer a next generation and bring the brand forward? So they are very interested in what we do, and I think that's the positive thing, without having the intention to lead the business and to come with plans and what's next.
Okay. Another thing that a lot of executives from family companies say is that they don't have such a pressure in kind of delivering on a quarterly basis, and you have to make the shareholders happy, and you're under that constant pressure that if you don't show the right numbers and the right results, things can change quite quickly. Is that the same in this company as well, that you feel that you might have a little bit more time to, let's say, introduce new products, or to give something a little bit more the chance to grow?
Yeah, I would say the experience that the family had when they started the business, that after only 10 years they were gaining money with what they did, is definitely something which is in the DNA of the company, meaning that they know that for having success in a market, it needs time, and it's not a quick thing. But at the end of the day, I would say you need to be successful in what you do, and also for a family like the Bart family, it is important that what we do brings us into a bright future, and we can be successful with what we do. But yes, I agree, no quarterly discussions about successes and failures, and should we stop, and this person should get kicked out. I think, but the pressure is still there, because like in any business, you want to be successful in what you do, and probably the way how you do it is different.
Of course. But if we talk about the successes first, there were some failures as well, like in all other companies. The main product, Rivella, There are other drinks in this company, but let's focus on Rivella as the main product. It is a huge success story because, as you said, they started in the 1950s. Very quickly, Rivella has become the drink #1 for the Swiss drink for the Swiss. Of course, there is a competitor which is bigger, but as a Swiss drink, you are #1, and you have remained #1 in Switzerland. And I think 95% of all Swiss know the brand. How do you explain that? Is it just that they came at the right time, at the right place, where there weren't any other drinks around, or what's the secret of that success?
Well, probably it was not so fast as you were describing. Huh? So the first years weren't.
It was
really,
a struggle.
It was a struggle, and I think coming with the idea of having a milk-based with bubble idea is probably
not strange for a lot of people.
It's definitely something that you need to convince people rather than that comes just like that. Yeah. To you, and obviously in the moment that it was there and the people were accepting it for various reasons, might be that it was a Swiss solution, might be it was the small David against the big Goliaths in this world, because the industry tried to prevent the creation of Rivella being successful in the industry, and Robert Barth, as the founder, was quite a revolutionary guy that wanted to show, hey, we can be successful in this market, and was opposing against this somehow cartel of the big brands that were already there at this point of time. Nowadays, I would say it's moms and dads that give their kids next generations of introduction into the Rivella story, and I would even say that the brand is really strong here in Switzerland. We have all the international competitors in here, and whenever you travel and you go out of Switzerland, and we Swiss people, we tend to travel. We like to go outside and make our experience abroad. Many of the people are just surprised that they don't find their Rivella when they get out, and that's probably as well a very important thing to the brand, that they say, well, I can't remember the brand's name of my competitor, but it doesn't matter.
Is it brown?
It's also a red label, I think. So if
you find that one everywhere,
yeah,
but you can't find a Rivella.
And that's actually what many people then start to reflect. Hey, why is it like that? And I think that also gives an additional value when you come back to Switzerland and you're just happy to get your first Rivella when you get on the Cloton Airport.
Of course, the marketing expert that you are, you give the whole thing a positive spin now. You could see it from the other side as well. Of course, you would be happy as the CEO that if Rivella was bought and sold all over the world. That is one thing that the company has always tried. You are very successful in Holland. I think Luxembourg, Austria, or other markets. The USA didn't work. The UK didn't work. You just announced that Germany doesn't work and you're getting out there. Is this just a question of money? Or is it that this specific drink is so Swiss that it needs a little bit of a different approach? Or is it a question of price as well? Because it's a premium product in other countries. Where would you see the biggest reason for?
Yeah, I would say it's a mixed
of all these things.
Of various reasons why we are where we are. I think yes, definitely successful in the Netherlands. A total different story. It's a light drink there.
It was the first light drink ever, right? In the 1960s.
At least in Europe, we really pioneer in having light drinks with alternative sugars in it, and that long before competition came in the 70s, then with lighter drinks. And if we try nowadays to go into a new country, I think it's a total different time than also compared to 1952. Just remember when we launched the product, it was missing sugars in nutrition, and actually part of the idea was in the dairy. So if you take the whey of after making cheese out of dairy, if you take the whey, there was still some remaining sugars in it. Can we use this for a drink? So,
which at that time was a good thing.
Which at that time it was just excellent. Yeah. Hey, we're happy to get some sugars, whilst probably nowadays it's a different discussion. And I think that's also part of what we have to take into consideration if we go into a new market. Here we are a strong brand and we are somebody, if we go out there, if we go to Norway, for example, well that's just, we heard it's a success story in Switzerland, but what is it for us? So it's a concept that probably you would not introduce if you're a young startup company. You would probably not create the brand or a product like it is Rivella nowadays. You would probably change and do something which is more in line with all the discussions you currently have in nutritional topics, and would do something differently.
Speaking of that, you are transforming the line of products as well. Having said that, to be in more lines and to be maybe also out of some of these discussions. In that regard, I think you said it once as well. Innovation is key. We can't just be happy with the brand name and with our brand recognition in Switzerland. We have to constantly innovate. You as a CEO, as an executive, how do you bring that across and how do you work on that also with the team, that you bring this notion across that we have to move on, we have to transform and innovate?
Yeah, I think it was interesting when I started here. I heard that Robert Bart once said actually red and blue is enough. So
we don't need two main Rivella colors.
And I was very happy that already my predecessor always tried to add on and try to, let's say, give new perspectives on the brand as well through innovation. Not only innovation on the core brand, Rivella, but we also have a different business on the fruit juice side with the Michel brand. I think there was more innovation around because it's also more logic. You have more fruit juices, more varieties to play, whilst here you're always on the dairy-based product and what you do, what can you really do? But when a product deserves the brand name Rivella, what are the ingredients that must be in it? I think it's then very this critical discussion that you're in, and as a point out of it, when I started here, for me it was clear that we want to give new versions of Rivella to consumers without saying these need then be eternally on the market. So give different opportunities to look on the brand, whilst at the end of the day trying to sell red and blue. Okay. And it is not very often we have the discussion, okay, this one wasn't successful, you have to take it away from the market and brought the new version, elderly flower this year as an example. These are not thought to stay on the market forever. If it works, it's fine. If we see its opportunity for next flavor, then we bring a next flavor.
You come across, and people say that as well, as very laid back, not very formal, not very keen on, on that boss label as well. Would you say that this is your kind of character as a boss? Are you a strict boss? Would you say?
I definitely am not a guy that wants to control everything, and I know everything better than others. So I think I'm somebody that has my values, and I bring along what I can do. But I definitely know a lot thing less good than my people know, and I love to work with specialists, and I love to work with competent people. But this means as well that you have to give them room to develop projects, room to develop next stages of developments in whatever you do. And so therefore, I see myself really in the role of leading everything, but in terms of resourcing it, in terms of helping the vision that was commonly developed and shared, trying to develop this as part of a common goal for the company, and sharing the money, so looking that everybody is financed the right way, that we have the right people on the right spot. That's actually what CEO is all about. It's not about I have the best idea and my company now has to create this drink because I invented this at home when I was a little bit laid back with a beer. It doesn't work like that. I think we have 270 competent people that can do a great job, and I have to help them doing a great job.
Have you always been like that, or have you developed this more? Have you become more laid back and more easygoing with time?
You definitely get more laid back over time, and you found out that all your ideas are exhausted quite quickly if you're the only one to have
So you need
ideas.
those other 270.
You definitely need a lot of people and a lot of ideas to get to great ideas, and I think it's not always the boss's idea that are the greatest, and you should be very happy about this. So it also helps you to be a better company if it's not about just you, but it's about 270 people trying to do a great job in this company.
When you look back at you at an early age, you studied at the University of St. Gallen, and you probably learned about all these theories of how to manage and how to be a successful executive and a successful boss. Would you say that what you've learned back then is exactly what you do now, or would you be surprised back then if you looked at yourself now, how you developed and how you react to the boss maybe as well?
It's probably interesting. I came out of a working family, so my father was working in a factory. My mother was serving in a restaurant, so I'm really coming from a very late, let's say, very operational,
very grounded as well.
Very grounded family with lots of values, lots of debates with my father when I decided to go to St. Gallen. Not because it's an excellent university. I didn't want to discuss with my mother about where to live. During my studies with St. Gallen, it was clear I'm going to live in St. Gallen and not in Bern.
And you're from Solothurn, so it's quite a...
Well, actually, there was a way to go, so that was cleared at this point of time. And I was just fascinated what I learned there about the world, which was not open to me before. And I had a lot of debates with my father, who was a union worker at this point of time, so he was really part of the unionized system. And we had lots of debates about the very liberal thing of how to look for the society should develop, and his view on how the relationship between worker and boss should look like, and now his son is going to be part of this community.
The corporate world.
Yeah, it was a little bit strange to him, and I think that's definitely something where some of the values are grounded, I think. So I have a lot of respect if I go over and say hello to my people in the factory, because I know they're important to us and that they do a good job and they do the best what they can, and I can talk to them because I'm part of their world as well. So although I work since 25 years, let's say on a different level, I'm not so far away from their thinking, I think. I probably live a little bit differently than I lived when I was a younger boy. But I think that's part which is just part of the DNA I bring along. And yes, definitely when I start working, I was just looking at bosses. Well, first time I met Daniel Vasella, the poor boy from Solothurn, meeting this important
respected figure
at this point of time, probably not the negative connotation he probably had at the end of his career. There was really still a very positive thing that was just great and unbelievable. And sometimes if then it turned around that I got boss in a company, it was just interesting. It was so naturally. It was just, you just do this and you try to do this with what you are and not with the picture you had in mind, what others might be. At the end, it's just about myself, and I can't do it differently because I'm who I am.
Funny enough, when we look at your career, which is a 25-year career as well now, mainly in the food and beverage industry, and what struck me, before you came to Rivella, you were with Wandel, which of course is mainly known for Ovomaltine. So you're probably the only one working for two iconic drink brands in Switzerland on such a level. How come? What is it with you and iconic drinks or food? Is it something personal?
Just a lucky guy, you see.
Okay.
Well, actually, it was funny. When I ended my studies, I had different opportunities to start to work with either insurance, banking, or food industry. And for me, it was quite obvious food industry is what I really like, because I like cooking, I like eating, so and I like to have these physical products. Probably through my father, I was also linked to some kind of factories, and therefore service industry is probably a little bit different. And yes, the food industry is really one thing that stayed in Switzerland as well, although everything else has a little bit gone. So it's high tech, either you're high tech, but in low tech, and food industry is still low tech, to be honest. Factories are still here, and why? Because people trust more in what has grown up here, what has been produced here or processed here. I think that's still an important thing, and I think that's also part what I find very interesting, that you still are able, whatever you have as an idea or what you try to do, you're still able to produce on your own as well. So the link, although I'm probably marketing and sales guy through my career, the link to manufacturing something and to create also from a development stage in a new idea, something on your own, is something that I like very much.
So I'll take from that you're not changing the industry anytime soon. But if final question, if we look kind of into the future, where do you see yourself going? Where do you see Rivella going? Where do you see the kind of, are there any dreams? You're, as we said, you're a very respected brand in Switzerland. You are you with the new products you had success, some failures, yes, but mainly successes. If you look ahead 10, 20 years, where do you see the company? Where do you see yourself in the company?
Okay, let's start with the company first. I think with the company, we really love to have a broader portfolio of brands, really doing things for consumers of tomorrow, because that's our job. Although we're in a historic environment of the merits of this company, we're engaged for creating the future and getting a and what is then about me? I'm still happy in what I do, and. Will I be retired here? I don't know yet. It's not a question that I need to raise. As long as I have something to do which is interesting for me and the company is interested in what I do here, I'm happy. What do I dream? I don't have specific dreams, and I never had in my life. I never dreamt to get the CEO role in any company. I just wanted to have an interesting role, and I think part of the discussion I yearly have with my boss, who is Alexander Bart, is, are you still happy with what I do, or shall I stop?
So the chairman will have his thumb up or thumb down?
So far he had his thumb up, and I'm also quite happy about that, to be honest. Would be probably a different discussion if it's the next time thumb down. But you feel this as well. I mean, you feel if you still create value with what you do, or if you don't create value. I think it's also a job that a CEO has to say. Then.
Well, and I feel you're a happy CEO.
I would say I'm quite happy in what I do. What I'm able to do and what I'm allowed to do here, it's a privilege, I would say.
Erland Brügger, thank you very much.
Thank you, Urs.